If science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion, otherwise you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, an illusion?
Where you been?
Drunk.
Wendy, darling, light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
What are we talking about here?
Oh, yeah, I know. Welcome.
I don't know if you had a segue. I was...
Well, I'm more. My segue is this. I had to help my mom set up her new phone today, and if we want to talk about horror movies, let's talk about suspense and thriller.
Yeah, that sounds brutal. Cindy, if you're listening, I hope everything's okay.
No, she loves her new phone. It's great. It's literally the nicest phone.
The process.
She bought it so that she doesn't have to buy a phone for the rest of her life because it's
see.
literally like the night. It's got like 240 gigs of memory, and it's the highest performing phone that you can purchase. She had to buy it.
That's really interesting.
She loves it.
This is the Gold of Cinema Knowledge podcast.
We watched Hush on it. Not on that one.
Oh, please tell me you didn't. Did you really watch it on a phone?
Yeah,
I mean that's okay.
On a phone.
That's okay. It's like,
dude,
when you watch it on a phone, because I know you had to do that sometimes. You don't have a fucking luxury lounger, but it's like watching a movie on a phone is one thing, but watching a movie on a phone with someone else sounds miserable.
It was pretty rough, but this film is fortunately very straightforward.
Oh yeah,
and it's tight and effective. I mean, the Flanagan. He's good at that.
So this it's Horrortober. I'm so happy. Like it's already been crazy.
Suit.
Yeah, yeah. So
it snuck up on me this year, though. Really,
it did.
It was just like the first already. We're already going, baby.
I know. I was driving home today, and I was like, "Wow, it's like fall out here now. The leaves are starting to change colors." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's October. I gotta watch a fucking horror movie tonight. I ain't got time for that shit."
I'm already like I'm stockpiling them. I'm gonna watch half a movie tonight so that I can keep ahead of it. I gotta keep ahead of it.
That's where I'm at. I got
one movie ahead.
I gotta finish The Beyond. So anyway, but the movies that we're talking about for this podcast today, we're doing the whatever votes. So it was close for like the home invasion movies I put up for the poll.
Yeah, it was funny because I haven't seen this one, and so I was just like crossing my fingers that it would win, and it did. So thankfully,
I'm glad it won because even though I think that Funny Games is probably because that was what it was tied with. I think Funny Games is probably a better movie.
Better film.
But it's like I don't know. It's an aggressive start to the month.
Yeah, no, and Funny Games is like
Hush is a real easy start to the month.
And that's Flanagan. Flanagan is the Spielberg of Blumhouse.
We're not sparing a fucking breath of the first Spielberg on this episode.
Okay, sorry. Right. Go listen to our Ferris Bueller episode, and you'll understand.
Right. Yeah. So we watched Hush, right? 2016. Yes. Mike Flanagan. He's kind of become that. I dig him, but I'm scared. For him.
I've seen everything he's done except like Midnight Club and the newest one he did, like Professor Chuck or whatever the new.
Oh yeah, that's coming out. I heard that's good, and I want to see it.
Okay.
See, I haven't watched any of his shows other than Midnight Mass.
And that's so funny. Oh, dude, Midnight Mass, that was great. Okay, so let's do a synopsis real quick before we dive too deep into this. Do you want to do it or?
Yeah, sure. I'll breeze through it. That's
okay. Yeah.
This movie's very straightforward. So this chick Maddie, she lives alone in the woods in this nice cabin. She's a writer, like kind of a newer writer, but somewhat successful. She must be in this nice house. She's got this friend that kind of comes next door, and but she's deaf. Maddie's deaf. But she lives alone, but she has all her little things. She's deaf and mute. And she's got this neighbor friend. I forget her name, but I don't think it really matters. It's like Claire or some shit. Jess or whatever.
Sarah.
So one night they're talking, hanging out, and then fucking out of nowhere, her friend goes home and comes back covered in blood and is like screaming, but she's deaf, and so she doesn't hear her. And some psycho in a mask is like shoots her with a fucking crossbow and then like stabs her a bunch, kills her. And And then so suddenly this kind of creeping cat and mouse game starts to pop off, and once she realizes he's there, and she's like, "Oh, just leave. I haven't seen your face or anything." And he takes his mask off, and he's like, "Well, you seen my face now." And so he's like, "Well, I'm gonna have to kill you, obviously." And so it's very much like a classic siege movie. She's like stuck in the house, and he's like kind of just fucking with her because he's just like a deranged, pathetic loser serial killer. And, just opportunistic, he shuts off, kills the Wi-Fi, he steals her phone and all this shit. And, he's fucking with her. He's like manipulating a friend's dead body. And, Maddie's trying to find ways to like escape and get out of the house, but he's like kind of just like circling around the place. Eventually a dude shows up, and it's the boyfriend of her friend, and was like, "Hey, I'm looking for my girlfriend. Like, what the fuck?" And the killer guy runs out, and he pretends to be a cop, and he's like, "Hey, I don't know what's going on. I'm a new deputy." And he's like, obviously sucks at it, but like people immediately like freak out with authority. So he like, the dude Jeff or whatever the fuck buys it for a minute, but then he's like, "This is looking a little shady." And just as he's about to he's like, "Okay, something's up." He's
gonna bludgeon him.
He dropped the earring of his girlfriend, because it's like he took it as a souvenir, and he's like, he's bleeding because she attacked him with a hammer when he was trying to get in the window at one point. And, Maddie comes out and is like, "No, run away." And then as soon as he's distracted, he gets gently poked in the jugular with a knife. And it's brutal, and he bleeds to death, and he almost gets the other guy and kind of gives Maddie a chance, and it doesn't really work out. And then Maddie tries to trick the guy and ends up getting shot in the leg with a crossbow, but she steals his crossbow because he's sort of an idiot.
They have a little tussle.
Yeah, he's sort of an idiot, and she steals his crossbow, but she can't quite figure out how to load it, and she eventually comes to the thing like she's gonna bleed to death because it's like right in her leg, and she's like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to there's no way I can run with my fucked up leg, and I can't wait because I'll die. I have to fight." And so she basically goads him into breaking in. He breaks in. They have this huge fight. She stabs him in the knee because he pops in behind her, and he just is cocky as fuck, even though he keep blowing up in his face. And it turns into this huge fight, and he's about to kill her, and then she fucking she gets him in the throat with a wine corkscrew, and manages to take the phone as she's near death from blood loss and demolished hand and all this other wounds and stuff. And so, which Mike Flanagan loves demolishing hands. I don't know what it is.
He does.
He really, which
Gerald's
I get.
dude.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Right. It's effective because it's
it is.
Yeah,
I cringe every time. Yeah. She calls 911, and she sits outside as the cops come, and it's like you think okay, she did it. She's definitely gonna be famous now. Her book career is about to explode.
Yeah.
There's gonna be people on Reddit that are like, "She killed them. She killed them all for the fucking fame."
Oh, I know, right. There's gonna be that.
So that's Hush.
That
It's
backlash. That's a good sequel idea, dude.
Right?
Great. Flanagan, let's get him on that, man. We'll send him this pod.
See, he's too famous now. That's the thing. It's this movie was great for the fact that it's him cutting his teeth, showing that what he can do with basically a micro budget, and being stick to it. I had to look it up.
He still actually does that though.
He does.
He does take really small budgets.
He does a lot
he works
with the money
really
he
well
gets.
with a moderate budget.
Well, that's why he's kind of became Blumhouse was known for just making really shitty movies kind of for a while.
Yeah.
And Flanagan
$5 million under. Yeah.
yeah, Flanagan helped being because they're we'll do small horror movies, low risk, and then hopefully one of them pops off high reward. That's because kind of how it is with horror movies.
Yeah.
And so
it literally is the Hallmark Channel version of for us. It literally is our Hallmark movies. That is the exact template. No, that's literally what he did. Blumhouse was
Yeah.
we're just gonna mimic this template where we make $1 million movie. We have $10 million. We make 10 movies and we make back $100 million or whatever. Between them all, or whatever. Even then you make back $50 million, and there you go.
I love it. I respect it. Some of the movies are trash, but I love this.
They all have
he takes chances.
something.
Anyway,
right.
I respect. Shout out to Blumhouse, but obviously Flanagan now he's become wildly successful. Now he went on to do more Netflix stuff, and then I think he's probably most famous for his shows now. right? Because he
Yeah,
did.
I would say it's a strong mix because Doctor
like-
Sleep
Oh,
is
yeah.
clearly his Doctor Sleep is his biggest project. Like at least when it comes to
Yeah.
marketing, because it's like the shine. It's connected with like one of the biggest horror movies ever.
Yeah.
So
See,
yeah,
I'm
so-
rooting for Flanagan just because it's like obviously.
Well, you're a
I
Stephen
grew
King,
up. I grew up on
you
Stephen
know.
King, and so I mean, I respect that. I respect an adaptation done right, which Flanagan so far has done. But most importantly, I'm like a guy that does. I want him to do The Dark Tower, which he keeps talking is going to be his next project. So we'll see.
Even and with Netflix, because I've been a big fan, like hit or miss, like not so back to Midnight Mass. That it's awesome that she's writing Midnight Mass and Hush.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so I'm like, he had to have been flushing out an idea for that. Or is Midnight Mass an adaptation? itself?
I think
I
it's
thought
an
it was
adaptation
original,
because
but-
there is a book about vampires called Midnight Mass, but apparently it's quite different. I haven't read it, but I've thought about reading it. But
Is it Stephen
apparently
King?
no.
Or- okay.
It's some guy I don't remember, but apparently it's really different. So we'll see. But
Okay, but okay. Anyways, so on that,
Hush is his second movie, right? Because Oculus is
Yeah.
his first movie. Right?
Oculus is his first for sure, and Oculus was amazing. I love that movie. And
Again, it's because it's ambitious. Like it's a little messy. Oculus is
totally.
like messy in the like more in the script department than Hush. Like that's the smart thing about Hush is it is so simple that it's just like hard. Like when it comes to the story, it's like keep it simple, stupid. Just
and it has
focus on
such
the
a-
tension and stuff. Yeah.
Right, and it has such a simple gimmick, and but not even with her being deaf, but just her inner monologue. I loved that. That was great for her to like.
that was good.
How she pepped herself up and
All right.
how she communicated.
Let's calm down for 2 seconds. We'll talk more about Mike Flanagan and his career and everything. But this is my second time watching it. This is your first time watching it.
Correct.
What were your initial reactions? What was your first impression?
Gosh, yeah. Well, so I can't. I mean, even to say predictability is kind of like not even fair because it kind of just is. It's I knew it was a home invasion film.
Yeah, you know
And-
where it's gonna go, but you don't exactly know how it's gonna get there. But it's just like you see the corkscrew early on, and you're like, I wonder how that's gonna come into play. You know what I mean? Like
the fire. You see her fire detector or whatever her
it's
smoke detector.
It's smart because everything.
It's going to come back later. But
there's no fat. There's no fat.
But the thing about this, yeah, right, it's tight. But the thing I really appreciated is it blended the line between like reality and film logic. Like when she throws, like every time it feels that's like you're saying like he's incompetent, which he totally, he is obviously, but he's kind of just a doof. But like it feels more realistic. Like it's a dude who's doing this, and he's getting like an adrenaline rush from this, and so his judgment gets a little whack. But I loved how like he's smart. He's a smart character without having to explain anything. Like when she always tricks him, she'll make like little traps and whatnot. I mean, not even necessarily traps, but she'll try to distract him by throwing something, and then for like 2 seconds, it's one of those like fake outs where you think she's going to be okay, and then he shows up and like hurts her, or shows up and is just like, it's just kind of like, what do you, what like you. Like obviously, I know where you are. It's not like she can get away. Or something.
He's an interesting like killer, almost slasher character because it's like,
and I love that too. The mask comes off immediately. That's the like.
I love them. I wish the mask stayed on longer just because I think it's cool. But
it's cool.
I like that they quickly take away the
it's different.
mystique.
Yeah,
and they're like,
and
he
cool
isn't
he's
some mindless like guy in a mask. He's literally just a dude.
Yeah,
and
he's a guy who
and it slowly devolves. Like he's an interesting character because it's like, yeah, he's not necessarily incompetent, but he's well prepared. You know what I mean? Like he comes into this and he can think on his feet, but he gets sloppy from like his hard on probably. You know what I mean?
Oh, right, of course. No, yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like he wants to feel like he's in control sometimes,
which is interesting. I liked that. Even though I wish the mask was in it more, just because it's a cool mask. You know what I mean? And it's
cool.
like it's not like when you see the poster for this movie and like the fucking thumbnail. If you watch YouTube, I have the one of his face in the mask.
Of his face. Right, so I'm coming into this as a first time watcher, and I'm 100%. Oh, is that a train horn?
Is it? Oh, okay. Is that
Can
what
you
that
hear
was?
that?
Yeah. I was
yeah.
like,
So
what was it?
we live kind of by the railroad track.
Yeah.
And the trains have been. I need to look it up online, but the trains have been coming through and pulling their horn for like 35-second like straight.
So annoying.
Like right now it's going, and it'll go
Okay,
for
yeah,
like
no.
a minute.
Thank God.
Like I don't understand what's happening, but anyways,
They're doing it
back
just
track.
to you.
I don't. Well, no, it's weird. It's like it hasn't happened. I've been here for a couple months, and this is the first like week that it started. Anyways, this movie I was expecting strangers, so I was like, oh, this is gonna be the strangers, where they're literally the strangers the whole time. Like it's like they never reveal themselves. Period, and that's their whole thing, and so that's what I was expecting. It was this was going to be like a Hush style, where
The strangers, but she's deaf, right?
deaf.
The gimmicks are
Right.
like,
So
oh,
that's the
he's
gimmick.
behind you, and blah
But
blah blah.
but the
She's
fact,
making,
but I loved that he just takes it off, and like it's because it's like it shows it kind of it strips it from that, and it's kind of like this is going to be this is a different kind of home invasion.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay, I appreciate
it's
that.
a cool subversion, and in its way, like even though it demystifies us as a viewer to like not be as scared, because traditionally us as the viewer, we want the guy in the mask lurking in the shadows
right.
silently.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's way scarier from her perspective. Because it's like he takes the mask off and he's like, yeah, I'm just a guy that's gonna fucking murder. And now, there's no like the how deliberate he shows his face is like he's like, well, you seen it now. And he's like, answer me if you understand. You know what I mean? Because it's like there's no escaping for you. Like I'm not gonna let you go. And
Except
it's like
my one thing that bothered me, and this is totally to argue this in a horror film is kind of dumb, but like she could have driven that car just fine. She could have gotten into her car and driven it. It's like if you're in a life or death situation, you can drive on your rims just fine. It doesn't. You might total your car in like 40 miles, but who gives a fuck?
There
like,
is
that was like the one thing that I was like,
you might have a
car just
hard
fine.
time on that road, but like it's
Barely,
worth a shot. But she had a hard time getting out of the house in general. It's like I give it the
That's what I
benefit.
liked about it. They did a good job at keeping her contained.
Yeah.
Because every time she would get out, every time she got out, it was logical that she would get attacked or something would happen. It wasn't.
Yeah,
like,
everything is like movie logic. Like it does a good job. Like like when he takes his cell phone and then you're like, "Fuck, get on the computer," and then he kills the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And so that all tracks, and then you're like, my only thing I had to look up because of the tag on the cat. I was like, where is she? So she's in Maine, is what the area code is, and I'm like, no woman living alone in the woods in Maine should not have a gun. Like someone should have a gun. You know what I mean? Like
America.
this is
It's
America.
America.
Like I'm like I have 5 guns and I don't even really like guns that much. Like, but anyway, it's but that's just one of those things. I don't know. It works. So it's like,
But that, no, yeah, right.
so you
that's
like
fine. It totally
you
makes
liked it though, because that's the thing. It's like first time I saw it.
Well, dude, no, it's Flanagan. Oh, I didn't know it was Flanagan, but it's so funny because the second she's working on Midnight Mass, I was like, that's a Mike Flanagan show. I was like, that's funny. I wonder. I was like, what's this origin? And then when the credit shows Mike Flanagan, I was like, oh shit, that's cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, no, this definitely is one of those punches above its weight.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know the budget, but A, Blumhouse, B, or the 2010s, and then I knew it was going to be $5 million or under. Like it had to be.
I had to look it up.
There was 2 characters.
Yeah,
basically.
I had to look it up, but I would have guessed like 5. Like I would have guessed like 5. Like this is a solid 5. Like it's got good production value. Everything it does is well put together. The effects that are there are solid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when it was like $1 million, I'm like, oh yeah, this does a lot for $1 million, man. Like,
dude, $1 million is kind of that's like it's kind of crazy. I mean, clearly there's no like big names in it, but it I don't know, just to make a movie for $1 million that looks this good. I was like,
looks
hell yeah,
good,
dude.
great
That's
tension.
so
Like
dope.
that's what I'm saying. It's like this. I think this movie he owes. Like Oculus showed that he's got. Like I'm not 100% sure if he wrote it, but it's like it's big ideas, working with the stuff, doing good dread. But this showed like, hey man, give me $1 million and let me see what I can do with it. And Blumhouse is like Michael Bloom or whatever the fuck his name is, I forget.
I know Mr. Bloom.
Yeah, Mr. Bloom. He's like, yeah, sure. And Mike Flanagan shows because this has got some great tension, dude. Like the scene when he starts sending her, because it gets right into it after the chick gets murdered. It gives you just enough setup, but he starts sending her the pictures of herself.
Oh, that's
and
so
then,
good.
And then she looks at the doorway and it's just open, and you're like,
oh yeah.
But it doesn't cut to it right away. It's like it's like 5 straight seconds. She like is like goes like afraid to look, and I'm like, oh, Even though I know
No,
it's
and
going to happen because I've seen this, but like,
And I was surprised. I thought I was going to be annoyed with like, well, not annoyed. I kind of thought they were going to utilize her like deafness, like her like, I thought they would transition between like noise and silence to scare you, but I was actually pleasantly surprised that they didn't. Every time it would be into her POV, it was like effective, and it wasn't like a jump scare. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
great. It was cool to actually have like I felt like, oh, this is like a really good like oh my gosh, sound design. You know, it like
Yeah.
they utilized that tool really well. It didn't feel gimmicky at all.
it didn't.
So,
Yeah, it was like it works
it.
for her character because she's like, she's pretty formidable, but it's like that is her hindrance is that she can't hear, and so he's like doing that, and it's like it doesn't use it so much, but yeah, it doesn't use it for jump scares really. Like there's like no jump scares in this really at all.
I thought they were going to. Yeah, that I appreciated that so much. There really like isn't
Because
a jump scare.
there so easily could have been. You know what
yes,
I mean? Like,
right. I kept waiting for it because you would go to her sound, and I was like, okay, now they're gonna blast noise at us, but then they wouldn't. They would come into noise, and then there'd be tension. I'm like, oh wow, this is cool.
Near the end, when she's like, just like he's trying to get in the house and he can't get through that unbreakable glass or whatever that's like deer proof or whatever.
Right. I forgot that one part was a little dorky, but
Yeah.
But anyways,
I mean, I assume I'm like, okay, it's like
It's fine.
those big windows. It's like I don't know.
Soundproof,
They got
like
bears in Maine or something. It's like they
she bought the house and they soundproofed it for her. So
yeah. But like she's like got the knife against the bathtub and it goes to her point of view like the no sound, but then you just see the glass falling back in the tub and him getting down because that's a perfect use of that device where it's just like because we're the audience like oh no and like that's great tension that's great tension building, and it's like his cockiness where he just like gives a little chuff like and it just blows the back of her hair and she realizes like that's a great moment.
And that builds who he is really well too because the conversation with John, I think it's John, the boyfriend. He's like, oh, you're a big jock type, and he's like I'd never be able to fight you in real life like there, and it's kind of like. It's mild enough and so quick that it's like it's not his like he's not monologuing that like I'm small and short and insecure and I want to kill big people and stuff but it's just enough of him commenting that like he's like yeah I really couldn't have taken you in a fight, I had to like I needed to trick you and stab you and anyways but then that when he's like I know I can get a scream out of you, and that's like what gives it away is when he's like
it's
like
like
you to scream and it
because it's like he's got this assuredness even though she's like it hurt him quite a bit, but that it's like he has the advantage because he always has, and he's like a narcissist obviously, but also because she's deaf. You know what I mean? He like takes her for granted that like I just broke in behind you and you don't even know it, and so he's just like so cocky in his assurance that he keeps kind of fucking up that which lets her get a leg up. You know what I mean? Which is nice. It's cool, but like
they keep it even. It feels like the playing field's pretty even. That's what's really hard with this style of film. It can like really feel disjointed and forced. Like I think Strangers feels forced when I like kind of think about it. If I compare the two, because that's kind of what we've watched Strangers recently, and so it's kind of in my mind. But
it's like I agree because it's like this movie. It's like fucking 82 minutes. It's got slow tension moments, but it's got enough going. Like everything happens.
I keep thinking like I kept expecting the boyfriend to come back, or like there were so many people I kept expecting showing up and getting killed on accident, just like Strangers, just like the Strangers.
Right.
Which
you're just waiting for the golden
movie.
god Dennis Reynolds to be like,
I was waiting for I was waiting for my 5-star man to show up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I kept waiting for that, and I was actually like I was pleasantly surprised that never happened. That like
right,
like
and when
John showing up was enough, I guess. It was that kind of that, but.
And when he shows up is
I loved how everyone
tense, super tense, because it's like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop because it's like, it's a natural reaction when somebody like the flashlight up in the air like that gets a lot of people like, oh, okay,
totally, yeah.
But then it's like as it's slowly falling apart, I'm like, how's this gonna turn? Because like this is a big guy and he's getting suspicious, so it's like that. Like nothing is the kills in this aren't glamorous. Like he just stabs the fuck out of the other chick and it's pretty grotesque. But that fucking just like. That like just like slow, like he just pushes the knife into his neck real quick, like 3 inches, like into his jugular, just and I'm like, like, I don't know, it got me. Like something about that got me because it's so gentle, but it's just like that's lethal. And he's literally like, nope, it's done, buddy, it's done. Like he's trying to tell him because he's like squirting blood out of his artery.
Right. When he's like, and it kind of like he's like, oh, don't act too wild because like he's like, it's over now. Like I got the drop on
Which
you.
is nice. He gets that last final push to like kind of choke him out. You think he's dying, and he like gives her kind of just enough, which she honestly doesn't utilize very great. But like,
I know, right? Yeah, everyone, yeah. But she like they do a good job at like showing her like timidness. Like she's smart in the house and she feels comfortable, but like she's not very violent until the end when it's like this is it. Your back is against the wall. This is the last. This is it.
I like it because she's she's a regular person, and it's like I'm not the kind of guy I hate in a lot of people in horror movies. Like my two biggest gripes about people complaining about horror movies is number one, it's not scary. Which shut up. I mean that's subjective, and a horror movie doesn't have to be scary to be effective. Number two is like, oh, that person's so stupid. I would never do that, and it's like I'm not one of those people, but like. In this case, she's also not like such a badass, and she's also not a complete idiot, but she does make mistakes. They both do, which like does make it an even playing field. Like, he's sort of cunning and she's formidable, but like they're like butt hits. Like they kind of are good foes, and they literally both almost die at the end. They're both like super wounded.
That's always kind of fun.
Her hand's fucked up.
Her hand getting crushed though. Flanagan loves to do it, but that is horror. That's like horrific. Like the noise,
brutal.
Like the bone crushing. I know Victoria couldn't watch that. Yeah. Like that is violent.
Just
like,
stomping on it.
Like I felt it. And it's so great because it's like Flanagan doesn't pull back until later. That's kind of my thing. I feel like with Gerald's game, like he's able to like, God, he had a crazy run from 2016 to 2017. He made like 5 movies, but like he'll be like kind of violent and like bone crushing, and it's kind of cool. It's like he's not like hostile gore, he doesn't go for like crazy gore, but he'll do realistic where it's crushed and you see her hand, and like when she pulls her hand back, I'm like, oof.
I know.
That's
$1 million prosthetic is pretty good, man. Like
I know, dude, for $1 million, man, it's crazy. I guarantee you, there probably wasn't even a prosthetic. Honestly, probably just makake up on her hand. It probably really was her hand. Honestly.
But dude, they had to because those fingers were broken. Some of them, man.
No,
like,
but that's what I'm saying. With like, the makeup, dude. You could 100% do that with makeup.
I don't know.
But yeah. It was very effective. Like
it was. It's gross, yeah. Because you're literally you cringe, like because the violence, like you say, it's not like so overt, but he also doesn't like flinch away from it, and it's not like a Jeremy Saulnier, who I also love, but like. Jeremy Saulnier, it's like he kind of does the same thing, but he really,
gut-wrenching.
Yeah, he does it in short bursts, but he really leans into it. Where it's like Flanagan's violence is realistic, and it's not like super showy, but like sometimes when it needs to be brutal, it's brutal because what's happening is brutal, right? And so it's like, everything's been like normalized because it's like they're getting shot with the arrow and she's bleeding a bunch. Like nothing feels like so. It's not like a slasher horror movie kill, like Jason kills a chick in a sleeping bag type shit. It feels real. So when something that happens that's actually brutal, that it just makes it even more effective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that all said, like, so we've been talking about how we really enjoy this movie. I think it's super solid. It's very simple. Like the tagline on Letterboxd, I was like, oh, I definitely want to watch Hush, I think. Just because it's like the tagline is literally like a deaf woman is stalked by a psychopath in her secluded home. Like that's it. And that's that's all you need kind of like I like a good twisty turny, but it's like it's just really straightforward. But
go for it.
Well, that said, that's also sort of its weakness, right? It's like it's kind of can only rise so far.
And that's my Flanagan
it is
gripe.
I know
is that
I didn't want to bring up Spielberg again, but you fucking said it.
No, I know. That's gonna be my new bit. But no, it's like, but Flanagan, what he does is like that's what it is he will do something, and I think maybe that's how it works. Is like he will keep a movie nice and suspenseful, and it's really creepy, and I don't know if he really necessarily writes all of his stuff, but I know he's like part of writing it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I do like his writing style, And I do like Midnight Mass to me personally. I might have to watch it again, but I felt like it kind of went a little bit too preachy, which, you know, obviously the irony there, but still. Anyways, I really like his writing, but it'll be like talky, and then there'll be a punctuation of some like pretty solid classic old school horror, and I love it. I love I don't know if you saw like Bly Manor, because that had not Bly Manor,
I haven't seen House on Haunted Hill or Bly Manor
really?
or Fall of the House Usher. I haven't seen those.
Oh, dude. Well, the Fall of House of Usher is dope. That actually has some like really that's like one of his most like true horror that I would like.
Yeah,
classic.
I want to watch them. I just wish I had the time, because I want to watch them, because I really love Midnight Mass. I mean, it's not perfect. It's definitely got its flaws, but it is a fucking effective vampire movie that's really cool.
And that's the thing. I love the idea behind it, and I do like a lot of execution. But then there'd be times where like they were going on, and I'm like,
but yeah, some of the writing's kind of heavy-handed,
yeah.
Well, and that's why it's interesting that it's like Mike Flanagan. He did a great job with this movie, and it's literally the exact opposite, though. Like, this movie's like 82 minutes long, super clean, super tight. There's like no room to cut anything practically. But there's also like really no filler, right? It moves at a great pace. But then you take that and you're like, you know what this guy needs? He needs fucking 10-hour-long episodes. And I'm like, I guess, but you know, there's a middle ground there. You know what I mean? Because even some of his other movies are pretty plotting. Because even Gerald's Game, you know.
See, and with Gerald's Game, because that's like he loves his adaptations, and he really does, like, you know, he follows in King's footsteps. But I think that Before I Wake, have you seen that one?
Oh, I forgot he did that, because he did.
That does a really good job.
No,
at, like, he's good at, like, I don't even. It's weird. It's like Guillermo del Toro does a really good job at doing like creepy fairy tales and like making like he can, you know. Like, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was not very good, unfortunately.
Well, he didn't direct that, though.
Oh, I know, right?
Still, though. But yeah, you know, still.
But that's in his. I mean, that's like in his wheelhouse, and a lot of his stuff's like that. But I feel like Flanagan can make stuff that is, it's like violent, and it's kind of almost for kids sometimes. Like he does a good job at like keeping it PG-13. With like R punctuation, I
agree. No, that's fair, and that is where I guess where the Spielbergian comparison comes in, because it's like we are full blown horror aficionados. We love our horror films, obviously, and Flanagan I like, but I get this slight resentment because he does make horror movies that are like more popular for like the general consensus. Like he goes a little bit more to the side of like, how can I bring more people in? Because I do feel like more people who don't really like horror that much probably like Mike Flanagan's stuff more, like, or more introduced to it, find it a little bit more palatable. And it's like, part of me really appreciates that because it's getting more people into the genre. But then the other hardcore horror part of me is also like, that's horror for normies, you know?
There's not enough face melting.
This isn't Cannibal Holocaust, you know?
I know, right? And that's like, that's where
there's not even a chicken pelled on a stick, you know?
Right. And we're watching The Beyond, and it's like, you know, nobody got melted with acid in this movie, so it's kind of hard to like compare it.
I know, right?
It's like, is it truly horror if they're like having conversations? Like, people are just they're supposed to be synth and face melting. Like, that's all.
Yeah, give me more synth, honestly.
Yeah, dude.
But I don't know. Like, this movie's really good and really effective. But I think I only gave it 3.5 stars or maybe 4 stars on Letterboxd.
I'd give it 3 just because it's not my style. I'm not a big home invasion.
I agree,
fan,
and it's like definitely more thriller. Effective. Like it's got like good horror elements, but it's like. This movie should be a 2.5-star movie, but it ends up being a 3.5-star movie. But it can, like I said, there's a ceiling. Like everything it does it phenomenally well. But there's a ceiling for it, and it can't go past being like it's pretty plain. Like you can only do so much. There's not any like it's done. Everything's done really well, but it is like also safe. You know what I mean? Which is, I guess, that's the epitome of Mike Flanagan. I think we were saying it's like
that's kind of what we're getting.
It's really well done, and but it's safe. Kind of, which is not necessarily a bad thing because some people want that. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
again, it's like
he's got like he has a good familiarity. I think that's my
that's a good
my
way to-
takeaway. It's like I like it's not predictability necessarily. Like you're kind of like I'm kind of like, oh, I know what's gonna happen, but then I'm like, oh, I'm pleasantly surprised. Like that's how like The Haunting of Bly Manor was like that, where like I really like, even though I kind of don't like the ending of it, but I was like, oh, that's cool. It's interesting what he's trying to do with it, like kind of making this like it's like kind of this weird love story, and I'm like, oh, this is like weird that he can blend this with horror.
Well, I like
really
a good
cool.
gothic horror, you know, and I know that's
Right.
that's definitely that,
That's-
and
yeah.
Haunting a Hill House.
But The Haunting of Hill House is like more classic, like straight
and
up.
I'm familiar with
it's
like the
great.
book and the other adaptations like The Haunting and so forth of Haunting a Hill House, but like I really want the time to watch them one of these years. Maybe we ought to. I can't hear it, thank God.
Oh, you can't hear
No,
it.
it's because
gonna
I'm
show up for
I'm
sure.
yapping.
It's gonna show up for sure in there. I got the train honking, baby. Dude, I don't know maybe there's like cows crossing or something. I don't know what's going on.
And just fucking Rose Park is just homeless guys or something.
Yeah, well, yeah. Maybe.
So like, I lost my train of thought. Oh no, maybe maybe
train.
Yeah,
Train.
there it goes. Maybe next year we should do like a show for 1 week or something. But like,
Oh, that'd be sick. Yeah, that'd be dope.
because I really want to watch. I've been really wanting to watch Haunting a Hill House, but I'm such a fucking like neurotic about certain things, and like I don't watch horror movies for like most of the year, so that I can like binge hard in October.
Right.
But then in October I'm like only horror. I can only read horror books. My children are only allowed to watch the Halloween specials of
They're horrific.
cartoons. Yeah. Like literally, I'm just like, we're going to the horror section. All the Halloween episodes of Bob's Burgers, like all the Halloween specials of fucking Corey Carson and fucking Coco Melon and shit. And so it's just like I binge it hard in the horror section, and so it's like I never want to watch it the other parts of the year. I can't like watch Haunting a Hill House in fucking March. You know what I mean?
I'm like, I don't know. There isn't.
I know.
There's probably not a month that goes by that I don't watch a horror movie.
That's true. I mean, I still watch I watch a fair amount if I want to watch it, but it's just like I do.
Yeah.
I mean, these days I only watch mostly what's for the podcast, and then like a little extra.
I know.
Unless I get like a really good binge in, you know. Sometimes I'll do that,
But this is why we do it this month, is so that we can because I kind of agree. It's like there's so much horror that I want to watch because this is probably like arguably our favorite genre, and you know,
I always say I always want to watch a horror movie, then I'm like, let's save it for Horrortober because we might want to watch it in October.
Yeah, no, kind of though, yeah. But there are enough horror films out there that like I love it. Like we're like 120 something deep into this, and
Yeah, quite a bit.
We're going, baby. I'm like, I don't even feel like we scratched the surface yet.
I know, honestly, because we did put like a lot more familiar ones on this month too, because it's like last year we had more obscure stuff even, and it's like we don't even have to reach that deep yet. It's like, you know, we got fucking Scream, Texas Chainsaw, like we got some big ones on here.
Yeah.
This month too, so I'm looking forward to it. I know this is shorter, but I mean, like, I don't know.
I'm cool.
Our what we have to say about Hush might run longer than the movie Hush because it is short,
really
which
don't.
is also another reason why I voted for it.
Yeah,
I need a good short
We're gonna
movie.
do a big. Everybody out there in podcast land, if you don't know by now, you're new to our channel, you're new to the show. Welcome, we love you. Check our Patreon, you know. But also we do a large wrap up at the end of the month where we talk about every movie, and we might if something about Hush comes back to our minds, we'll give a little
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it,
I'd say
whatever,
we'll
if
probably
there's something that we reflected on.
I might because I that happens sometimes where I'll see something else later in the month that like will like have a comparison to another movie that we already covered or whatever.
Totally.
Because it's like, again, like we made the Strangers comparison, and it's like there's quite a bit of home invasion movies. And I should have put more on the some on the list, but I avoided last month for school movies that there's a lot of school horror movies. Even though we ended up watching Battle Royale, which I guess is kind of on the line a little bit, but
Yeah, well, shit, yeah, I don't even know, dude.
For
I
some
wouldn't
people.
call that a horror, but
no, some
Right.
people.
Right.
I've seen it on horror lists, but I wouldn't call it a horror.
yeah,
It's
But
a,
I mean, I guess
it's a
that's-
dark comedy. if anything.
right. I mean, that's something we've we've kind of debated amongst the years here of what's true horror, but I think I'm happy. If you called it horror, I'm totally down, because if it's horrific to you, then straight up,
Yeah, it's like, horror's a vibe, man. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to
Was
be
were there subtitles when she's signing?
I thought of you, yeah, because it's like there is.
Yes, I knew it. So I watched it, but my mom knows ASL. So when we were watching it together, she was just like,
I had no
yeah.
idea.
So she's just like, oh, I mean, it's hard because A, we're watching on a phone, and B, it's like dark as shit. And
Yeah.
it's, it's like, and like even when she's talking with her friends, it's like small, and they cut around it. So if there's subtitles, then it's like they're not showing her do it.
Well,
and how she signs is a little different. So anyways,
and
but it's like,
yeah,
it's all ASL, but. So I knew what they were. My mom was like, "Oh, she's like saying this about the book, and like saying like like they're teasing each other, and like she got kissing wrong and all that, all that good stuff." So
it's nice because unlike Coda, which go listen to that episode. Jordan watched the whole movie not realizing there were subtitles.
Well, no,
He's like,
the second, because I knew this. I knew Hush. I knew like the. I don't want to keep saying gimmick behind it, but it's like I knew the premise that she was deaf. So I'm like, oh fuck, there's gonna be like sign language. There has to be, I assumed.
Yeah.
And so I'm like waiting for it. And the second it happened, I went, "There's no subtitles." I went, "Fuck it, I don't care." I pull out a Coda again. I don't.
Well,
Plex is awful for getting subtitles to work.
Well, the good news is that I did plug the subtitles on when I saw there wasn't any. And I was like, I wonder if they subbed it, because it's like the first time I watched it, I don't remember if I watched those subtitles, because I don't. It adds to the dynamic, but you don't
really
need it
them.
in this movie.
Like Coda, you need
them.
like plot driven aspects and
75% of the movie is ASL.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but in this movie, it's like much more like, even in Coda and subtitles in general. Like obviously ASL is very heavy on like body language, and two is like also like how you're trying to say something, and like a lot of times you move your mouth too. And so it's like in this movie, for the short burst that it has it's really easy to infer what's going on. You don't need it.
Right.
Which is nice that it's like it's there, but also, and it like deepens their relationship a little bit, so it makes it a little bit more tragic when he's like knocking with her corpse on the window, which is a good that's a horror movie moment right there.
That's such a good horror movie moment. Yeah, and like the cat about to be killed. I was like, oh yeah, here we go. But then I knew it wasn't gonna happen, because it's like,
no,
he doesn't kill.
He's gonna fucking flay its paw off because it's Mike Flanagan. So
yeah, get it in a little handcuff.
Yeah. So I got a Reddit for you. I got a couple of Reddits for you. So Professional Dog 2580 says, such a great movie, it never lets up. 100%.
Totally.
It's got a great pace.
It's got great momentum, but it's not like crazy, stupid, intense.
Yeah.
There are there's definitely some really intense scenes, but I'm just like, oh man, even her just plotting is kind of cool. It's kind of fun. I don't know. It's like the blocking of him outside and her inside is flawless. Like that is the part where I was never confused. I was like, oh shit, I know where he is, and I know where she is, and it's like they kind of know where each other is, but then not really, they do a good job at editing around that and blocking that. So I was impressed. Yeah, I really like this movie.
Yeah, and like you say, everything comes back, everything that sets up in the beginning, it does give you just enough. It spends just enough time before it gets into the meat and potatoes of her relationship, and it just sets all the seeds. Yeah. It does feel like you watch enough movies and foreshadowing from a mile away. It feels like that, but it's nothing is wasted. It's my boyfriend and the corkscrew and the light, and it's you see in the cat when she drops out of the cabinet, and it's the hornet spray. Everything kind of matters, because with such a short runtime, it's everything sort of should matter.
Right,
and it does. So that's kind of why it never lets up.
You want it to come back. I mean, that's the whole reason. It's
her writer brain, because that's one thing she's talking about in sign language. She's saying it's her writer brain, and she can never turn it off. And
right, and she that's how she does have an internal monologue that talks to her, that she does have a voice, because she the meningitis took it from her,
and it comes
kind of cool. I love that.
Yeah, and it comes around because it's oh, her writing and her not being able to thought out the plot is how she has to turn her writer brain on to put herself in almost a fictional situation, how she would plan it out in order to survive. And it's even though it's like a fairly just like logical conclusion, it's like it's nice to be able to see that just come back around. Like it is. That's the thing about this movie. It's super simple. Everything about this movie is so simple, but it's like done well. And so again, the simplicity keeps it from rising to a certain level. But
right, exactly. But, and that's kind of him. And he does he does this in a lot of his movies where there'll be like a really cool technical aspect at the end, like when she's getting choked out and it just flashes her life before her eyes.
$1 million, dude. Like,
and it looks. I love the punctuation of color. It's beautiful. Like it's great, and that like it's a good touching moment, and but it's like silent. That's great. So
it reminded me of Sunshine, kind of.
Totally.
Like,
I mean, that's 100%.
God,
dude, Sunshine's so good. Go listen to that episode.
I know.
We're fans.
I know. Should have put that on this month. Again, you could. We didn't mention you've seen Dr. Sleep, right?
Of course, yeah.
How'd you like Dr. Sleep?
I need to watch it again with like a more open mind. I don't know. Like I really liked it, except I didn't care for like the roving vampire / night eaters or whatever the hell they were, like the Langoliers that like were in human flesh.
Wishes the Langoliers.
I know, dude. I didn't like them very much, and so I don't know. I liked it. You
should watch it again. I love it, but like when I really liked it a lot first time I saw it, and I've read the book though too, so. I knew what I was getting into.
I'm not the biggest Stephen King fan, so that just kind of.
It's because he's popular. We get it. You're a giant hipster. We get it.
No, it's because it's just because he has such a large volume. So there's clearly stuff I like by him.
I grew up on Stephen King. I learned how to read because my grandmother, who is insane, I don't talk to, but when I was a little kid, she was obsessed with Stephen King, and she would like show me all the movies, like the
only Cujo. Oh,
well, it was like the Stand TV series and like the It TV series and things like that, and like right when like Storm of the Century was coming out, she was obsessed with it. But and so she like got me reading Stephen King, and so it's like that's what came around. But it's like, and obviously he can be hit or miss, no doubt. But when he hits, dude. So if you ever want to dip your toes, I'll tell you where to start. Which you should, because once you learn how to read. Anyway.
Barely. Yeah.
Which remind me afterward, I got to tell you, because I've been reading horror books, right? I just finished one.
Nice.
I got to tell you.
Yeah,
that.
of course.
But I remember what I was doing. I got on a sidetrack.
Reddit?
Yeah, I got on a sidetrack. But if you do rewatch Dr. Sleep, they did do a like extended director's cut, and I recommend it because it's a little longer, but it's edited kind of different. It's edited like chapters, and it works like way better, I think.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
and it is, you can watch it more like a show.
I want to
because it is.
I want to watch The Shining and then Dr. Sleep back to back. And so
they're totally different vibes, though. You know what I mean? It's like
no, of course, but I just like. It's a sequel, so it's like
right, and it works and it's good because obviously, and I got to give shout out to I know this isn't the Dr. Sleep episode, but we got time, but I got to give a shout out to Mike Flanagan because adapting Dr. Sleep was a hard task because Kubrick changed so much of the Shining book that notoriously Stephen King hated it because it's so different.
I mean, Stephen King like kind of hates like all of the adaptations unless he is involved heavily.
Sort of,
really,
yeah,
really.
Sort of, yeah.
but still, it's fine.
But like Dr. Sleep, it's like spoiler at the end of the book of Shining, the hotel blows up. It like burns down and blows up, and it's got a completely different ending. There's no hedge maze or anything, and so obviously Kubrick did all that stuff. But then like when Mike Flanagan had to adapt the book for Dr. Sleep, which is like not 800 pages or some shit. He had to adopt that book, but also change it enough to fit into what Kubrick did. So it's like not only an adaptation of this huge book that's a sequel, but also like make it a good sequel to the Kubrick movie. And it's like he's able to do that surprisingly well to the point where I'm like surprised Stephen King. I'm like, I kind of like Mike Flanagan's stuff better in Dr. Sleep sometimes. Yeah. The True Knot's way scarier in the book though. The vampire gang.
The vampire gang.
Yeah, Rose the Hat. Rose the Hat is fucking terrifying in the book. Anyway, she's cool. I just like what's her name? I forget her name. She's the mom in Dune too. Anyway,
Right. No, I like her too. She's in some of his. I think she's in The Haunting of Hill House and all. Yeah.
Something else.
She's in all.
Oh yeah. And then I got one more
what's
Reddit. So our buddy, I haven't read his yet.
Let's hear it.
So
from our
Clones of
number
People.
one
Oh,
fan.
just kidding. I did read his because never mind. I did because I responded. Clones of People 2 says, okay, first watch and looking forward to the rest of the month. Great. Because I know he's not a huge horror fan, but he got on last year and now he's got the bug. I hope he's infected.
No, really. Well, there's some. I mean, yeah. Well, dude, don't. The Beyond's gonna scare him off, but here we go.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, he goes on to say, my first thoughts on this were that it could have been better. It's got an interesting hook, but I just found the whole film was a bit bland. It's not bad and it's directed well, but it's not standing out to me from the subgenre of home invasion horror. I like the final act that felt more unpredictable and the tension was built well, but I found the middle just felt like it was going through the motions. I get that. He says the film was very dark, and I feel it could work better if it was set in the daytime.
I kind of actually was on the same boat. When it got super dark, I was like, oh, I mean, it works just fine. But I
didn't think of that, but like they should have done it because it's like if he honestly, him in the mask is scary and all that, but it's like he loses the mask soon, and you're getting rid of subversion. It's like you don't have to set it during the day, but honestly, it should have went into the morning, and then all the climax should have been like dawn, more so been bright. Because honestly, I think it would have been just as effective and showed her isolation more during the day. It makes sense that he's there at night, but it doesn't really matter because it's not like we go into the why. There's no why that he's there or why she's targeted or anything, which also is kind of nice. I'm glad there's not some weird motive.
Yeah, that was great. And he never really got his exposition dump, which was great.
All he got was she got his fucking crossbow and it had the notch marks on it of how many people I killed.
Which we did a long time ago.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so he goes on to say, wish it was set during the daytime. Play into the isolation and having this going on in the day feels more terrifying. A daytime invasion is much more menacing, just like the villain taking off the mask. Overall, it's a 6 out of 10 for me. Couldn't agree more about that daytime thing because honestly, I didn't even think about that really because I was like, this movie is what it is. It is very dark and maybe that is a budgetary thing, but it's like if anything. Because you can hide stuff in the darkness, but at the same time, it's using natural light. That's cheaper. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that would have been cool. So anyway, that just makes me think that we ought to make a daytime home invasion movie.
I know, dude. Yeah.
Right? Because honestly, it's things like The Strangers. I guess Funny Game is during the day, so I guess that makes sense.
Oh, dude, you gotta. Yeah,
but Funny Games. Funny Games just hates the audience.
And Funny Games is Funny Games never lets up. It makes it kind of rubs your nose in it.
100% rubs. So, it is mean spirited. But it's this movie's like the cat and mouse. Funny Games is we're in and we're torturing you kind of for 2 hours, which is a different movie. This is more of a siege movie, like Green Room or something.
You need to flush out the firstborn, dude, and make a.
I do think that would be fun, right?
That'd be a good home invasion, yeah.
I honestly think, I think it'd be pretty fun too, because you could get kind of goofy with it too, just enough, but also good scares. You want to make a firstborn feature?
I would, dude, 100%. If we could tie in First Adopted too.
Yeah, obviously. All right. Anyway, that's all I got to say. We just button it up. Thank you.
Get your horror on
for listening.
Get silly.
Yeah, we got more horror. I don't know. So obviously we're go to the Reddit, check out the list. We're watching all the movies. But like I said, every Tuesday is going to be a vote, and then I'm going to do a poll over the weekend. So look out for this weekend for next week's poll. I'm thinking I'm going to do more family horror movies this next week just to kind of break it up, and we definitely want to do a week of that because some of us got kids and stuff. And there's good ones.
And there's some solid
Scooby-Doo,
ones.
Coraline,
who
fucking
put the clock in the walls or whatever.
I know. Every year we watch at least one.
Last year.
It was okay.
I hated that movie. Go listen to that.
We get it. You're fucking. I know it's not fucking Lars Frontier.
No, dude. I always think Lars Frontier, he's Lars on the frontier. But
the frontier of your mind, man.
No. I love. Don't even get started Coraline. I fucking love goddamn Nightmare Before Christmas. I love. kids horror movies.
Oh, there's some good ones, So we'll have to talk and see which ones we're gonna put up because I'm like
We need to watch
Scooby-Doo
Monster
Zombie
House.
Island. Oh,
We've literally talked about watching Monster House
I'm-
for like the last 4 years.
I fucking love Monster House,
I know.
and I'm
I'm gonna
100.
vote for
I'm
it.
100% putting it on the poll.
I've
And
wanted to see it forever.
it's
and I've just
been-
never seen it.
Like I'm definitely gonna find. I think I own it, but like. It's been on Netflix for like 5 years, but I just saw the other day that it's leaving Netflix, so it might be gone by next week.
What? It needs to stay through fucking October.
No, they're rude. They're getting rid of it, so you'll fucking buy it. Like I don't know.
Fine, I
Nobody,
guess.
everyone,
buying Monster House.
everyone forgets about Monster House. Anyway.
Right. Well, it's one that I've wanted to watch forever because we've never watched it. I've never seen it. And
Oh,
like,
you've
it's
never
been-
seen
it's
it?
been
All right.
talked about. I know.
I hate to break it to y'all. I'm gonna make a poll, but we're watching Monster House next week.
No. We're gonna vote.
I'm gonna vote.
But we're gonna throw our votes onto Monster House. So if you're out there and you want to watch Monster House, go vote for it on the Reddit.
Yeah, Monster House rules. Anyway, thanks for listening. Hush, check it out. It's fun. It's cool. It's simple. It's light. In its way. Check out the rest of the horror movies for the month. We got some pretty bangers coming up, man. A lot I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna go finish the Beyond tonight so that we can get caught up and see how it goes. See how it goes.
Lovely.
Yeah, tomorrow's movie is the Beyond, so go check it out. Today's movie, or I guess when you're listening to this, whenever you listen to it, but like Zombieland, yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
and then Hush. Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right. Goodbye then. I think that's it. Bye now.